Hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the 1111 Matrix Code Revealed. As always, I'm your host, Garrett King. Okay, folks, I have a really cool video to show you today. This is just, it's a new code that I discovered literally just over the weekend. Before I get into that, just very quickly, I want to apologize for it again having taken a while to get this video out. Just trust me when I say that if I'm busy, I'm busy. I'm really busy. Work just really has me exhausted by the end of the day. And then in the evening, it's just, my brain is literally like mush. So trying to do any sort of research in the evenings is sometimes just difficult, is what it is. But it's interesting that I had this hunch over the weekend. I was thinking about all of this research, basically, and how the main focus has sort of been on ELS, equidistant letter sequences, and how that falls into the Bible. Of course, all of the different encodings that I have shown you thus far, and my mind started thinking about other ways that things may be encoded. I think about, I remember reading a book a long time ago, and I don't even remember what the name of the book was, but it was about ciphers and different ways that you could encode things, different messages, et cetera, et cetera. One of them being, like if you were to write something, just normal words, with normal spacing, but it was done in such a way that either all the letters on the right or left would line up and spell something, just simple things like that. And this hunch that I had was, I guess I don't even know if there's a term for it, but I'm going to refer to it as first letter placement. Okay. And what I mean by that is, say that you have a sentence or verse, and you pick a specific word. In this case, I'm going to use Yahweh because that's exactly what I used. And I started with Genesis 1:1. So, as we know, Yahweh is made up of Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey. Those are the letters. So I looked at where the first Yud would fall, and then from that moment, going from right to left, so I looked for Hey, and then Vav, and then Hey, okay? And I didn't skip, like if there was which there's not, but if there was a Hey that came before one of the other Heys, I didn't choose it. It's not like I'm like picking and choosing where these letters are falling. You'll see what I'm talking about here in a moment. I'm literally picking them in order within the sentence or the verse, okay? And so let me just switch over here to Windows to give you a better idea of what I'm talking about. So, as I said, I chose Genesis 1:1, and my keyword, master word, whatever you want to call it, was Yahweh. So, I look, and the first Yud falls right here. It's in position 5. If this stupid thing would highlight. There we go. Okay, so it falls in position 5. Okay, so then the first Hey after Yud falls in position 12, and then the first and only Vav falls in position 22, and then Hey again falls in position 25. Okay, so what I was trying to say with not skipping is like or picking and choosing the letters where they fall. I'm not doing that. I'm literally going in order. So I didn't choose Hey, or not Hey, but Yud, then jump to this Hey, and then jump to this Vav, and then jump back to 17, where Hey is. I literally went in order, okay? So, by doing that, once again, Yud falls in position 5, Hey in position 12, Vav in position 22, and then the last Hey in position 25. When we take those numbers and add them up, we get the number 64, okay? Now, this isn't a number that I think we've talked about at all. If we have, it's been very brief. But again, we get 64. Now, 64 is in Greek gematria. It is the value of the word truth. Okay? Truth. Now, here's what's interesting. So, the position of Yahweh, the letters in Yahweh, where the letters fall, the position totals 64. And then we get truth in Greek gematria. So there's a tiny bit of a connection there. It's bigger, you'll see in just a minute, but I'm calling it tiny for just the moment. So we know that the Bible was written in both Greek and Hebrew. Now, if we look at the Hebrew word for truth, it has the value, gematria value, of 441. Now, this number is interesting because if you recall, let's go back here. If we took an 11 by 11 multiplication table and we started here, remember, if you guys remember this, we got the cross symbol and it was the value of 144, which is the mirror opposite of 441. And if we scroll down, we can see how those move on. Let me actually just kind of zoom in here. Okay, so as it moves around the board, every position that it lands is 144, okay? And 144 is the value of Lord Jesus Christ in Hebrew gematria, okay? So the connection, again, is a mirror flip. And that's what we're really starting to look at here is mirror flips, okay? So 441 being the value of truth and 144 being the value of Lord Jesus Christ. Now, here's where the connections start getting very interesting and very deep. Okay, so we have the word truth in Greek, and then we have the word truth in Hebrew, and the value 441. Now, 441 is literally taking 3 times 7 times 7 times 3. Okay? 3773. We've talked about this number a zillion times, okay? Because it is the value of Genesis 1:1 if we were to take its standard gematria value of 2701 and add its mirror opposite of 1072. Okay? That's where we get 3773. Plus 37 times 73 is 2701. Again, these number connections are just insane. So let's just show this. So 37 times 73, 2701. And then let's clear this. And then if we take 4 times, or sorry, that's not right. Clear that. If we take 3 times 7 times 7 times 3, we get 441. Okay? So again, very intricately, deeply encoded mathematical structure taking place here. But it's going to get even deeper. So let's look here. So just again, because I do this all the time now with having created the matrix gematria, I took the word truth and plugged it into matrix gematria, in which we get the value of 1332. Okay, we've talked about this number a lot. 1332 is the value of 666 plus 666. And it's also the value of something else, which I'll touch on here in just a moment. Let's close this calculator and move this over just a little bit. Now, if we take the word truth and we look at its first letter placement in Genesis 1:1, so the first letter of truth is Aleph. So the first Aleph is right here, falls in position 3. Now, here's where the encoding gets really deep. I want you to look at this next letter. This letter is Mem. Now, if you remember, Mem can have two different shapes. If it falls in the middle of the word, it's open, okay? It has an open shape. And what I mean by open is you can see right here, the line is not connected, okay? However, if it appears at the end of a word, it takes on this shape right here in position 14, okay? Now, this is where you have to just really think about what the code is doing or how it's actually encoded, okay? So with that being said, if I start with the first Aleph in position 3, I'm not going to jump to this Mem because this Mem falls at the end of a word. It's falling at the end of the word Elohim. We're looking for the open Mem, okay, which would be right here. It's position 19. It's the first and only open Mem that appears in the entire verse. And then the last letter is Tav, okay, and it falls in position 24, okay, right here. So now we have 3 plus 19 plus 24, which is 46. Interesting that it's the mirror opposite of 64, which is the Greek value of truth, but also the first letter placement of Yahweh. Okay. This is crazy how this plays out. Now, if you remember Jesus in John 4:16, it said, Jesus is quoted as saying, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Okay? Now, I want you to think about that verse. Think about it very hard, because think back to what I was talking about when I said Jesus not being a man, but being the energy source, the energy source that courses through every single thing, courses through us, courses through the entire universe, okay? When you think of it in that way, that verse makes perfect sense, because if this energy source courses through everything, it would also generate or be generated from the source, okay? The source of creation, the Father. And that makes perfect sense that the only way to return to the source is through the source. It's through us. Think about it. Think about it. Now, here's the other interesting encoding that's taking place here. So 441 with the value of truth in Hebrew gematria. I feel like I'm going to sneeze. The temperature's changing here. We're getting into fall. So again, my allergies are kicking up like you wouldn't believe. So 441, that mirror reflection, Lord Jesus Christ. Okay. And we're talking about truth. We're talking about who said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Well, of course, Jesus. So in Hebrew gematria, and actually that's not correct. Not Hebrew gematria. It's matrix gematria. Jesus has the value of 1369. Okay. Now, this is what's cool here. Think back to the Genesis star. Okay, we're talking about Genesis. Okay. And if you recall the Genesis star, I'll bring it up here. Okay, when we had all of the odd and even numbers. So the even numbers in the Genesis star was 1332. Okay, the value of truth in matrix gematria. And the odd numbers are 1, 3, 6, 9, 1369. The value of Jesus in matrix gematria. Okay. Now, again, we're talking about Genesis. Genesis 1:1 has the value of 2701, which is 1332 plus 1369. It's 2701. Okay. Now it's going to get even deeper here. So I'm sitting here and I'm like looking at this and I'm seeing these connections, and I start thinking about the Alpha and the Omega. Okay. The beginning and the end. This is one of the things I talk about in my book, the 1111 Matrix Code. That the beginning is the end, and the end is the beginning. So that phrase, which I cannot seem to ever escape, it made me think about the Torah. Okay. And I'm sitting here like looking, and of course the first thing I do, which I think would be the first natural thing to do, let me go ahead and open up this JLA Tanakh program, is to look at the Torah, the beginning and the end of the Torah. So we look at Genesis. We know that Genesis 1:1 has the value of 2701. It's made up of 28 letters, 7 words. Okay, but we're just kind of focused on the gematria value of 2701. So I go to, which again, it seemed like the natural thing to do, the end of the Torah, which is Deuteronomy. And I look at the last verse. Maybe I should spread this out just a little bit more if I can. Or not. This program's... Oh, it's down here. Jeez. Okay. So I'm looking at the last verse, and I select it all, and I select the gematria values, and I get 2598. There's 47 letters and 12 words. Okay. And I'm looking for number connections, and I'm not seeing a number connection. Again, 47 letters. Now, the position of Yahweh, the first letter positions was, it equaled 64. Truth in Greek was 64. And then the first letter positions of truth in Hebrew, 46, the mirror opposite of 64. So 47 didn't play into this at all. Now, the only thing I can say is that, 4 and 7 is 11, okay? But I'm not searching for 11 connections here. I'm just throwing that out there. But I want to show you something. So it just got me thinking. Again, we're talking about Genesis. And that's what the word Genesis means, in the beginning. And again, that phrase, the beginning is the end. So it clicked that I should be looking at the end of Genesis. Okay. Which would be chapter 50. And here's where the connections are going to start falling into place. So chapter 50 has 26 verses. Let me show you something here. The Hebrew gematria value of Yahweh is 26. Okay? 26. We're looking at the 26th verse. This 26th verse just so happens to have 46 letters. Okay? The first letter placement of the word truth. Do you see these connections? Not only that, get this, the whole value of this verse is 3189. 3189. Now, I don't ever recall talking about this number before, but let's have a look here. So 3189, let's look at the factors. So to get 3189, we would take 3 times 1063. 1063. This number is interesting because, again, we're looking at mirror opposites here. When we take 1063 and add its mirror flip of 3601, what do you know, folks? We get 4664. 4664. The exact same numbers that we're seeing with the first letter placement of truth in Hebrew and Yahweh. 64 and 46. What are the chances? What are the chances? Okay. Now there's another Jesus encoding taking place here, because this last verse literally says, so Joseph died being 110 years old. Now, we're not so much looking at what the surface text is saying. We're looking at the number within the surface text, 110. Well, what is 110? It's easy. It's 37 plus 73. Okay. That mirror flip of 2701 and 1072. Now, we're not done. We're not done. I started thinking again about these mirror opposite numbers. And the very first mirror opposite number, well, I won't say the very first, I guess it would be the very third, because 333 is a mirror opposite number because it's the same forwards and backwards. 1111 would be the second one that came to me. And then the third was the one that I got when I multiplied 333 and 1111 together. 369963. Okay. Now, I opened up Chat GPT and I asked AI to give me a complete list of mirror reflection numbers all the way from 0 to 369,963. Okay, or essentially just 369,963. And it produced a list. I was shocked, and I'm going to show it to you. I was shocked when it literally showed, pull this up, scroll all the way down. So basically we're starting at 0. So 0, it is a mirror reflection number. It's only one number, but it's the same. It's going to be the same, obviously. And any number 0 through 9 is going to be the same. Then we get into 11, 22, 33, 44, 55, 66, and so on. These are the numbers that are going to read the same forwards and backwards. They're palindrome numbers, okay? And so again, I had ChatGPT provide me a complete list from 0 all the way up to 369,963. And folks, what are the chances? What are the chances that 369,963 is the 1,369th palindrome number? 1369, the value of Jesus in matrix gematria. You can't make this shit up. I say this all the time. You cannot make it up. This thing is so deeply encoded. And again, you know, my main focus was on ELS, but I'm really starting to think, obviously, there's more to it. There's more encoding taking place here. Possibly more than we will ever be able to find. I don't know. But again, what are the chances? And that's not all. That's not all. Remember, the Genesis star was made up of the numbers 1369 and 1332. Here's the ultimate. 369 plus 963 is 1332. I mean, folks, literally, you cannot, and I shouldn't say literally, it's not like a valley girl. Again, you can't make it up. It is literally showing, well, it's not showing us how deep the rabbit hole goes because we haven't gotten to the bottom, but it is showing us that it is deeply, deeply encoded. Very much so. And again, we have to look at the numbers and we have to think back to this idea of Jesus not being a man, but being a reference to the energy source that courses through everything. Everything. It's the I've said it before, it's like Star Wars. It's the Force. It's what binds everything together. And it would emanate from the Creator. The Creator would also be a part of the source. We are a part of the Creator. We're all connected. It's all connected. It's insane. Now, there's something else with the number 369963. I've talked about this in the past, but I didn't realize just how extensive this was. Because again, at the very beginning of all of this, when I first came across this number and was, just starting to put things together, that's when I realized that in the 1111 matrix code, every number, when you take the last 4 digits and add the remaining, they all come back to 1111, okay? And we know that this number that we're looking at, 369963, is essentially the engine that runs this entire thing. And I've shown this where you take any 4-digit number and add it to 369963, it will turn back to the 4-digit number that you originally plugged into it. Now, for those of you who haven't been around since the beginning, if you're just starting, this is a bad place to start. You should start from the very beginning. But let me just demonstrate what I'm talking about here. So 369963, I'm going to throw in just a random 4-digit number. So let's say 2581. Okay, 2581. So what we wind up with is 372544. Now, keep in mind, every number will start with 37 when you plug in a 4-digit number. Okay? But what we're going to do is we're going to take the last 4 digits and add the remaining. So that means taking 2544 and adding 37. And we get 2581, the first number that I added to 369963. Okay? And this will happen no matter what 4-digit number you plug in. It'll always start with 37 and follow that format. If you just take the last 4 and add the remaining, you will always get back to the first number you started with. Now, the complexity of this is that I didn't realize until literally just yesterday that any number, well, I won't say any number, but if you start with the number 1 and add it to 369963, it will come back to the number 1. Okay? Let me show you this. Okay. So as you can see here in column A, let me zoom this in. So I have 369963. I have the number 1, which I've added to this, and we get the number 369964. Now, think about this. So when I talked about plugging in a 4-digit number, we're taking the last 4 digits, okay, and adding them to what's remaining. Well, now that we're talking about one number, we must take the first number, add it to the next number, and so on. So if we take 3 plus 6 plus 9 plus 9 plus 6 plus 4, we get, interestingly, 37, the value of Jesus in Hebrew ordinal gematria. And then if we take 3 and 7 and reduce it down, we get 3 and 7 is 10. And if, whoops, I went too far. And why is it jumping? So then if we take 10 and reduce it down, we get 1, the number that we just plugged into it. Okay? And I've done a couple of here just to show that it's following this sequence. So if we add 2 to 369963, we get 369965. Okay? Again, it's one digit. We've added one digit, the number 2. So, and technically, I guess I should have put these backwards. So I should have done 5 plus 6 plus 9, but it doesn't matter. It's coming out the same no matter what. So anyway, but 3 plus 6 plus 9 plus 9 plus 6 plus 5 is 38. 3 and 8 is 11. And I know that I've said this before in numerology, master numbers, which 11 is a master number, you typically don't reduce. But in this, we're not talking about numerology in this particular instance. We're just talking about numbers. So 1 and 1, when reduced, is 2, the number we just plugged into it. Same thing with the number 3. So we add 3 to 369963. We're going to get 369966. Add those together. 3 plus 6 plus 9 plus 9 plus 6 plus 6 is 39. 3 and 9 is 12. Further reduced, 1 and 2 is 3. The number we just plugged into it. Okay? Now, this is going to continue and continue and continue. Now, what was it I said about double-digit numbers? So we get here to 10. Okay, so we add 10 to 369963, and we get 3699973. Okay, let me show you this. So now we have a 2-digit number. That means we must take the last 2, add the next 2, and the next 2. So we're going to take 73 plus 99 plus 36. We have 208. And then again, breaking that down, we'd have 2 plus 0 plus 8 is 10. Okay. It's just going to continue. So I have kind of just played around. I've scrolled down, and I've even taken the number 10,000. Okay. So let's just do that one. 10,000. Well, let's clear this out. Okay. So 369963 plus 10,000 gives us 9963 and the number 37. So 9963 plus 37 is 10,000. Okay. Now, at some point, we're obviously going to run out of numbers because 369963 is 6 numbers. Okay. Or 6 individual numbers. So chances are, and I haven't fully fleshed this completely out, I just wanted to show you this. I will continue this, and I want to find out where's that stopping point. Where's that stopping point where the numbers are going to stop? Because obviously, I think if we were to plug in a 7-digit number into a 6-digit number, this sequence isn't going to play out anymore. So what is that ultimate stopping point? Not sure. We'll find out. I'll talk about it in the next video. But what is interesting about this whole entire sequence and this particular set of numbers, 369963, again, thinking back to Nikola Tesla, him saying that if you only understood the magnificence of the 3, 6, and 9, you would hold a key to the universe. And the simple fact that we're seeing a palindrome number, and we're plugging numbers into it, and they're coming back out the same. To me, I'm taking that as though it's like it's a reference to whatever we put into the universe is exactly what we're going to get back. you put good things out into the universe, you're going to get good things back. If you put negative things out into the universe, you're going to get negative things back. And again, this connection to the source. We have that power. We have that ability to receive good things by doing good things. And by the same token, we have the power to receive bad things by doing bad things. It's so crazy to me how these numbers keep coming back time and time again, and they seem to have very specific messages about creation, about us, how we came to be, the things that we do, like I just said, doing good things, receiving good things back. And for this all to kind of start by just looking at first letter placements of the word Yahweh, Jehovah, and how all of this just sort of fell into place, finding these connections. And again, it's it's literally leading us, folks, to the deeper truth of what is encoded in this book. There's obviously more. Obviously. I mean, there's no denying it. There's just more. And we have to find out. Hopefully we will find out at some point what this ultimate truth is, unless this simply is the ultimate truth. I mean, is it that we are connected to the source, the creator? Is that literally the ultimate truth? It could be. Or is there something even deeper that we've yet to find? Don't know. But I aim to find out. So that's it, folks. That's what I wanted to show you. Again, this encoding. And again, just how deep it truly is in the connections. It's fascinating to me. It truly is. Okay, I've rambled on. I'm not going to keep you guys any longer. I just wanted to show you this new code. And I am still continuing to search Bible codes. Again, it takes time. It takes time, thinking up, like, obviously you figuring out like the master term isn't hard, but then thinking of proper, like add-on terms and finding the connections. That takes time. And like I've said, my time is limited, but it is what it is. I will be showing you guys some more Bible code findings that I have found. Again, the ones with Trump and Kamala are just insane because there's a lot of overlapping connections there. And it is deeply talking about some kind of, how do I want to say this? I have to be careful with certain words because I don't want to be banned on YouTube. But some definite fraud taking place. Okay, it shows up in both matrices that I found. So who's committing the fraud? That's the real question. So, but more on that later. Yeah. So until next time, folks, take care. Hope you have a great rest of the week, and we will talk again soon. Bye-bye.